You might have figured out that one of the things that you will need along the way is a website. A lot of times there's some conflict about whether or not any service business really, but even a dog trainer, whether or not they really need a website. Sometimes people will say you don't need one at all. You can just have a Facebook page or just business cards and just get word of mouth, and maybe you just don't even need one. But first things first, I will tell you that you will be shooting yourself in the foot quite a bit if you don't have a website, because some of the people who will be most likely to take any kind of action as far as paying you are the people who are going online and typing in dog trainer near me, which means that you need to be able to be found by people who are searching for you. So a website's absolutely necessary. But how do you know if your website is any good? Now that you know you need one, you need to make sure that it doesn't stink. And I can tell you that I've seen a ton, I mean, probably thousands of dog training business websites at this point, because I've been helping other dog trainers with their businesses for more than 13 years. And writing a great website is part of those skills. Otherwise, you will put a lot of money into trying to get your name out there and be found. And then they find you, they look at your site, and then they don't do anything. So this is obviously a really important skill to know what exactly to put on your website, how to make it nice so that those people who find you actually turn into potential clients. So what do you need to do to make sure that your website works well and that people actually contact you? Well, like I said, I've seen a lot of dog training business websites and a ton of really, really bad ones. I've seen some really ugly websites that actually did pretty well getting people to contact the dog trainer. And I've seen beautiful websites that did a terrible job getting people to contact them. The difference, obviously, between the two is that usually the words are the thing that make more of a difference than what it looks like. If you have it written well and it also looks nice, that's definitely a plus. So having it not be ugly and having it written well, those are two different things and two different sets of skills. You, however, may not be a website designer. You also might not be what's called a copywriter, which is a person who writes words for the sake of getting some kind of action, usually in the kind of realm of marketing, getting people to take some sort of action with a buying decision or something that will lead to a buying decision. That's what copy is. So you might not be a copywriter. You're a dog trainer. You're probably not even that much of a people person. But I have a couple of tips for you that will help you not only get a beautiful website, but one that's written well so that you can attract the humans, so that way you can work with the dogs, which is what you wanted all along. So the first thing is there's a couple of different mistakes, and this one is a really easy one to fix. I see this all the time. Make sure that your website actually has your contact information really obvious, your location and your phone number. It needs to be really obvious where you are and how to get in touch. Because sometimes people, if you write your website really well, especially, sometimes people will make a decision to contact you immediately, and you don't want to bury that information. You don't want them to spend more than a couple seconds figuring out whether or not you even live in their area. So definitely really obvious contact information, really obvious location. There's a few other things that also I see a lot of mistakes with when it comes to the information toward the top of the page. You also kind of want to avoid anything that's distracting. So like links to your social pages, your Facebook page, your YouTube, that kind of stuff shouldn't be near the top of the page, because you don't want people leaving your site. Remember that your website only has one job. Your website's only job is to get people to contact you, to turn someone from a set of eyes, to a lead, which means that if they are a set of eyes and they're looking at your site and they do anything other than contact you, your website did not do its job. So expecting your website to do all kinds of things, including share every story you have and every success story you have and every picture you have and everything that you have to say about your training method and everything you have to say about how you do what you do and your certifications and everything else, your prices, everything you can imagine as far as information. If you have too much of that on your site, people will not have a reason to contact you. There'll be nothing that actually makes them want to contact you. You're expecting your website to do too much for you. So that is mistake number 2, is trying to get your website to do a job other than that, trying to get it to sell for you, trying to get it to do everything so that when they contact you, you don't have to talk to them. They just hand you money. That's not practical. They need to know, and it's not realistic really, that they need to know who you are as a person and be able to talk with you before they can really expect to pay you anything, unless you're really cheap, which is a whole other topic we talk about on this channel all the time, is your prices and whether or not you're undercharging. So Your website's job is to get people to contact you, which means that it should be obvious and easy what you do, where you are, and how to get in touch. And your website shouldn't have so much information on it that it is distracting or sends them somewhere else off your website before they contact you, or in any other way kind of gives an extra, what marketing people call points of friction, meaning points where people just choose not to contact you. There's too much complication, too much information. They decide to come back to it later. They just don't get in touch for one reason or another. And a lot of times that's because the information on there is overwhelming. There's too much information, too many words. It's too confusing. They're not really sure what to do with all of it. And they're like, I'll just come back and read it later. So you also don't want to have so much information that you put it there just kind of thinking that maybe you just won't have to tell people things if you have it on your website. So overall, too much information is a bad thing. So what kind of information do you want to have on your website? So a couple quick tips on this is it is always best to focus all of the content, all the copy, all the words of your website more on the potential client and less on you. You'll get to talk about yourself later. What you want to do, especially on the home page of your website, is talk about where the people are right now. I call this the before the tunnel part of their journey. So they have the light at the end of the tunnel, the thing that they want, and they have before the tunnel, which is where they are now. So where they are now is right now your dog is like this and it's making you feel this way. The formula for that is essentially right now, this thing is happening. What is that event? What are the events before the tunnel? What's going on with them? The people that you love working with, what's that before the tunnel look like? And how does it make them feel? So you can talk about what they're going through and how they feel about it. You can also ask questions. Do you wish your dog would listen better? Do you wish that you could be more proud of how your dog acts instead of embarrassed? Things like that. Ask questions that your ideal client would always answer yes to, and then be reassuring. You're in the right place. We're here to help. We've helped lots of families just like you before. And then some kind of call to action. My personal favorite is get in touch and tell us all about your dog. Of course, you could offer some sort of consultation or something like that. But again, remember the rule is to get them to want to contact you. So since you just want them to contact you, you want to go for the thing that they want most right now, which is to get somebody to listen to them about their dog. And I know that you don't necessarily want to hear their life story about every dog they've ever had, but you do want to make some money, right? So you want to have to listen to people if you want to make some money. So tell them to get in touch and tell them about their dog, tell you about their dog. So that is a great call to action. The main purpose and the main principle here, again, is to focus more on them, what they're going through, what they want, how they feel, the things that are happening before the tunnel, and also the things that they want to have happen at the end of the tunnel. What are those events and how would they feel then? So you might say right now, your dog is doing these things and it's making you frustrated, embarrassed, upset, wish you never got a dog, all those kinds of things. And what you want is for these things to happen and to feel this way instead. Those words are things that should be coming out of the mouths of your ideal client. So you want to listen to them carefully and use those words. What's happening? How do they feel? What do they want to have happen? And how would they feel? The mistake is talking about the tunnel itself too much. What you do, how many lessons, how it works, what your policies are, how many hours, how many minutes, how many weeks, all the information about how you do what you do, your training methods, your prices, all that stuff. That's all information they need to know in order to buy. That's not information they need to know in order to get in touch. So you save that for later. You can have a page for your programs where there you still mainly focus on the benefits, a little bit more about how you do what you do, but still more leaning toward what they get in the end, not too much about what you do. So again, don't be overwhelming. So your website's mostly about them and less about you. Just the information they would need to know to be excited to contact you. So the things that make them feel heard and understood, and that they know you know how they feel, and talk about where they are and talk about what they want and be reassuring. And make sure your contact information and your location is clearly obvious with as few distractions as possible to other places. So always coming back to make sure that your website just accomplishes its one job, to get them to want to contact you, pick up the phone and text you or call you or something like that. Try not to insert any extra barriers to that journey. You want them to get in touch. That is the job of your website. One other little quick tip is you can comb through all of the words, all the copy on your website, and be sure that there is no dog trainer jargon, so words that they don't use in normal conversation, and that it doesn't sound too fancy. So if a 10-year-old, a smart 10-year-old couldn't read it and understand everything, then it's too complicated. So you want to dumb it down to like third grade language, third grade English, and no dog trainer jargon. Sound like a real person. Don't try to sound fancier or smarter or anything like that than you are. Just be a normal person who happens to be an expert in dogs. The more relatable you are, that will also help. And a final actual tip is how to make it look pretty. So I have actually a solution to that. There is a link down below that will help you not only with the copy, but with the design. A really, really easy way, really inexpensive way of getting a beautiful website, especially not only beautiful, but has the right pieces in the right spots and the right pages for a website that has been proven to work for dog trainers specifically. So you can go check that out. And whether you get that particular thing or not to help you with the design, it'll still give you a ton of ideas and a ton of clarity, even just by going and having a look at it. And also, it will give you a way of getting my eyes on your website potentially, which is the number one request I get from dog trainers is, can you look at my site and critique it? Tell me what I need to change. And there are very few ways of getting that. The link down below is one of them, so you can check that out. There's also a separate link for a way to apply for private coaching if that's what you prefer. So you can check that out too, as well as all the other goodies that are in the description as always. So head on over to makeitasadogtrainer.com for everything else, and I'll see you there.